From the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 8, verses 26 through 39. And he arose and went, and behold, a man of Ethiopia, a eunuch of great authority under Candace, queen of the Ethiopians, who had charge of all her treasure, and had come to Jerusalem for to worship, was returning, and sitting in his chariot read Isaiah the prophet. And the eunuch answered Philip, and I said, Pray thee, of whom speaketh the prophet thus? Of himself, or of some other man? Then Philip opened his mouth, and began at the same scripture, and preached unto him Jesus. And he commanded the chariot to stand still. And they went both down into the water, both Philip and the eunuch, and he baptized him. And when they were come up out of the water, the Spirit of the Lord caught away Philip, that the eunuch saw him no more, and he went on his way rejoicing. And passage from the Acts of the Apostles depicts the conversion and baptism of an Ethiopian eunuch returning to his homeland from a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. This passage concerning Philip and the eunuch is one of several theories on the bringing of Christianity to the Ethiopian state. However, modern research has shown that the actual wholesale conversion of Ethiopia from a pagan nation to one of the earliest Christian nations occurred between the late 3rd century AD and early 4th century AD. This conversion and development occurred several centuries after the advent of Christianity and allows for a unique look at the development of the religion as a whole outside of the traditional region associated with early Christianity. Contrary to the Bible passage above, the conversion of Ethiopia to Christianity can be largely attributed to an increase in maritime trade, while the nation's relative isolation resulted in the development of a unique Christian tradition unlike those developing in contemporary Europe and the Middle East. The next several slides depict Axum, an example of ancient Ethiopian trade routes, the Bishop Frumentius, and an example of Christian imagery on coins minted in Ethiopia. From the middle of the 3rd century AD, the capital of Ethiopia's diverse, multicultural nation-state was located in Axum, home of the emperor's court. The main port of the nation at this time was Adulis, a Red Sea port very active in maritime trade with many nations, most importantly with the Eastern Roman Empire, which by the late 3rd century AD had adopted Christianity as its state religion. The important presence of maritime trade exposed the Hellenized ruling class to the new religion through dealings with Christian traders. Conversion was slow at first, spreading along central trade routes into centers of population. Conversion was not only important in terms of religion and belief, but also an economic and political consideration. By the beginning of the 4th century AD, coinage bearing Christian imagery was being minted. The prevalence of trade with established Christian nations contributed to the widely accepted Ethiopian church tradition of the conversion in the late 3rd century AD, which focuses on the story of two Syrian boys rescued from a shipwreck. Frumentius and Odysseus were rescued and sent to serve the court of Emperor Ella Amida at Axum, circa late 200s AD. Both boys were noted as being pious and reliable in the extreme, with Frumentius especially being honored for his sagacity and wisdom in his position as a royal secretary and treasurer. Both men eventually earned manumission of their servitude upon the death of the Emperor Ella Amida. Frumentius was tasked with managing the kingdom as regent until Ezana came of age to rule in 303 AD. Frumentius traveled to the city of Alexandria, where he was ordained as the Bishop of Ethiopia, and upon his return began a lifetime of evangelical works, culminating in the conversion of Emperor Ezana. Of key importance in his evangelical crusade were the Christian merchants, whom he urged to establish churches and spread the gospel. These merchants and the conversion of Emperor Ezana in the mid-4th century would lead to eventual adoption of a unique form of Christianity in Ethiopia. The next slides depict an image of Emperor Ezana an example of his obelisk, and an image of the 9 saints of Ethiopia, as well as an Ethiopian depiction of Jesus carrying the cross. There has been some scholarly debate on whether or not Ezana was legitimately converted by Frumentius. However, the discovery of a letter from the Byzantine Emperor Constantius circa 356 AD, written to Emperor Ezana regarding the confirmation of Frumentius as a non-Arian bishop, provides corroboration of the Syrian shipwreck legend as fact. Further proof of Ezana's conversion is found in inscriptions ordered in memorial to a victory in battle, written in Ge'ez, the prevalent Ethiopian language of the time, describing the victory as attributable to the Lord of Heaven. The inscription mentions the Lord of Heaven at least 7 times, alongside Lord of Earth and Lord of All. Ezana's conversion, as noted in the letter from Constantius, was not a conversion to Orthodox Christianity such as it was circa 350 AD. Frumentius was ordained in Alexandria as a bishop in the Monophysite tradition, which posits that Jesus Christ was possessed of one nature, human, subsumed by the divine. This tradition was further entrenched in Ethiopian culture by the spread of monastic centers in the Ethiopian heartlands by an order of monks who followed the Monophysite tradition as well, having been exiled from Egypt following the Council of Chalcedon in 451 AD. These monastic centers would establish the tradition in Ethiopian culture of monks as the main source of the Gospels for the masses. While this writing is only a brief overview of the development of Christianity in Ethiopia, much more remains to be examined in future posts. Of particular interest is the importance of maritime trade in the introduction and spread of Christianity within the Ethiopian state. The monophysite nature of Ethiopian Christianity is also of importance in regards to the relationship between Ethiopia and other contemporary nations.